Hey everybody, it is Samantha and I am back with an earlier update than what we normally do. I have been normally uploading about once every month and a half, but because we have a lot of plans coming up really quick and the school year is getting ready to start in a couple of weeks, I figured today was the best day to get this done. I've had a couple of people talk about how I haven't really introduced myself. I've just kind of jumped right in. So if you're new, my name is Samantha and I am a crafter from a young age. My grandmother taught me how to crochet when I was about 8 years old. I learned how to knit when I was 21. I am 44 years old now. My mom was a cross stitcher and she taught me a little bit about that. And my mom was also a sewer. I hesitate to use the word seamstress because she just did it like as a hobby. But she also taught me some of those skills as well. So that has all transformed into my life where I don't have one craft that I get into. I knit, I crochet, I sew, I cross stitch, and we're going to talk about something else that is new in my realm lately as well. Day job wise, I am a teacher. I am a teacher in the greater Houston area in the northwest portion of Harris County, and I am also a college history professor. I teach at 3 different community colleges, plus my high school teaching gig. So I don't have a whole lot of downtime during the school year, but when I do, it is spent crafting because that is my joy. That is what brings me the most joy. And I kind of use it to center myself as well because I've got a lot of health things that have happened in my life. I am also someone who is ADHD, if you know, you know. And I am on a weight loss journey as well. I have recently, actually today is my 1-year anniversary of having weight loss surgery. So I talk about a little bit of all of those things in this channel. So if you're interested in any of it, make sure you subscribe because that's going to help get my content out to people that are looking for someone who is multi-craftual like that. All right, so let's talk about what I have been up to. Cross stitch wise, not much. And that's because I have been on a knitting mojo for the last couple of weeks. It kind of all started with the new yarn shop that opened up, which I talk about in my last video. And it's just kind of exploded since that point in time. I have ebbs and flows of different crafts, and right now it's knitting. So I'm not going to update anything on my cross stitch at this time. Maybe when I get to the end of the month, if I get any cross stitching done, I'll do that. Honestly, the only project that I have worked on at all is my Boreal colors, and I only put in about 0.5%. So I've got nothing to update you on there, but I do have a lot of knitting to show you. So last time we talked about the sea glass cardigan. And so here is a picture of what the sea glass cardigan would look like when it's done. And my husband saw this and was like, oh my gosh, I have to have that. You've got some yarn for that, don't you? And I said, sure, we can go shopping in my stash, which you can see my stash all back here. And so he picked out an orange color of Madeline Tosh DK, which is a single ply DK weight yarn in the color Afterglow. And he picked out a bunch of minis to go with it. And I swatched and I figured out that a US 8 is the best for that. So there you go. You can see a pretty good version on the swatch here. This swatch was done with blocking. I did block this. I wanted this to be as accurate as possible with blocking because it's color work. It's 1x1 color work. And it also has this method, you can see here with all these little tails, where you never have to turn your work. It's kind of sort of almost like knitting in the round, but you are cutting the strand at the end of every row and starting it back over on the other side. And there are stitches that you have to complete. You can see here, let me get my light a little bit better. There are stitches that you put along the selvage that are a faux steek. And so this was my first time doing that, so I wanted to have all of that there. I did not go for a full 4 inches on the body. I did not go for a full 4 inches on the length, just because I can calculate how that is going to go for my row gauge. So I'm not too concerned about that. So the US 8 was the perfect fit. And so from there, I decided, let's cast on. But what I realized really quickly is I needed something to kind of help me out. And so I did buy one of those tension rings to go on my finger that's got the little flip top to hold it in. And I am doing two-handed color work with this. So I have the main color in my right hand, and I am flicking, because I am a flicker when it comes to my knitting, an English flicker, if you will. And then in the left hand, I am doing continental knitting, but I have to have it over that tension ring. I did buy one of the metal coil type rings. It did not work for me. It was not a good fit for me. The tension ring with the flip top was what worked best. And so I've been working on this. Let me get my cardigan out. I am not quite to the split of the sleeves yet, but I have almost gone through all of the colors that my husband picked out. So without further ado, here is the start of the sea glass cardigan. And so it is looking amazing in the colors. I love the randomness that I've got going on here. There are so many different colors, and he picked out some that were tonal. He picked out some colors that were speckled and variegated. And so it is just fantastic in the way that it looks. I just love it. I will say the increases, those have been giving me a run for my money. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure that they're perfect, but they are good enough, and I am not ripping back anything on this. So I think I've got 2 or 3 more colors still to go to finish the full color repeats. And then I will start all the way back over to these first colors and go back through. So it's gonna repeat as I go through. So that is the sea glass cardigan with the crazy ends hanging off the end here. I was working on this pretty hardcore for about a week. I love this cardigan. I love working on it, but I got sidetracked, and I got sidetracked in a big, big way. And it's because a pattern that I had been waiting for came out. Last year, Max the knitter, Maxim Sear, part of Les Garçons, he came out with a pattern called the single malt pullover. And I saw it and I immediately fell in love with this pullover. But my husband, when he saw it, he said, you know what? I don't know that I would wear it as a pullover. Can you make it into a cardigan? And, you know, I'm good, but I'm not that good. I'm not the kind of person that could just transform that into a cardigan without having the instructions there. If you give me the instructions, I can follow them. I have people all the time, they're like, you are so talented. I'm like, no, I'm creative. That's what I am. I don't think that that is necessarily talent, but I follow instructions like you wouldn't believe. Like if you give me some instructions, I can figure it out. So I heard earlier this year, Max had talked about how he was making the single malt pullover into a cardigan. And he was hoping that it would be out before the end of the year. Well, y'all, he went through the testing process and got the sweater pattern released about a week ago. And I immediately purchased that. I had the gauge swatch done and I had it cast on within 24 hours because I was ready to do this. So this is what it looks like. It is a beautiful all over pattern, textured pattern. And it is written for Aran weight yarn. I looked at the test knitters, and the test knitters, there was probably about 13 different test knitters that wrote notes, wrote what yarn they had used, had pictures and all of that. And a couple of them used worsted weight instead of Aran weight. And since I live in the Houston general area, Aran weight just does not sound good to me. It just doesn't. So I decided, let's probably go with worsted weight. And so my husband really wants this cardigan. So I told him, you know, I can find some yarn. Let's go with wool. What color are you looking for? And he decided on, let's do something dark, like a gray or a black or a dark green or a dark teal. And I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on this yarn. We've got a trip coming up, and you know, I've already spent a whole lot of money on yarn in the last couple of months. So I didn't want to spend too much to do this project. I had in my stash though, I had some Patton's classic wool that's worsted in black. I have had this in my stash now for a couple of years. I actually purchased it to make berets that are felted, so it's 100% wool. I made one for my husband for Halloween like 3-4 years ago, and I had bought more to make more for other family members and then never did. So I had 2, almost 3 skeins of this yarn. That's not enough to make a sweater. So this is what it looks like. It is the Patton's classic wool in just black. And so what I realized is I needed about 7 more of these to be able to make the cardigan. And so I looked it up, and I got these at Michael's when I bought it like 3-4 years ago. And my Michael's right down the road had exactly 7. And I get a teacher discount, and the yarn was on sale. So I ended up getting 7 more skeins of this for like $21, which is amazingly cheap. And so I bought everything that my Michaels had, and I came home and I cast on to make a gauge swatch immediately. And it says to gauge swatch 2 ways. Do it in plain stockinette, and then also do it in the textured pattern. And I did, and then it says to block it. I decided not to block it. And the reason I decided not to block it is because I hit gauge exactly without blocking it. And because it's a cardigan, what I have decided to do is if it opens up and it's just slightly bigger, that's going to be okay, as long as it's not too much bigger. So I am going to stop probably halfway through. I'm going to steam block the actual cardigan and see how it's going. And if I need to decrease some stitches or whatever, I can do that. So that's kind of my thought process on that. So I cast this on July the 13th. And that night I finished the collar. And the collar was really cool because the collar had short row shaping in the collar itself. The short rows are not in the textured pattern, they're in the collar, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And then went immediately into the raglan part with the patterning. And let's see, I started that on the 13th. Today is the 19th. I've already split for the sleeves, and I am about 1.5 inches into the body. I just finished the 3rd skein of yarn. So, well, really it's like 2 3/4 because I started with the first skein that had already been opened. And then I have put in 2 full skeins of the Patton's Classic Wool. So I just finished a pattern repeat for the body. And I figured this was a good point to stop because now my thought is I'm going to do the sleeves first. Now that I'm at a good place, I finished a pattern repeat. I am going to do the sleeves next. So without further ado, let me show you this gorgeous cardigan. All right, this is the back of the cardigan. So you can see here, I've got it marked with what the right side is. You can see it is a deeper stitch pattern than on the sides. It's got this beautiful folded over collar, and it goes directly into the texture. I am not a big fan of where I picked up the stitches, but I am not ripping back on this. I don't like that that line is there, but I think it'll be okay once it blocks. I think it'll kind of block out. So here is the front. So you can see the split sleeves here. It's got this beautiful raglan shaping. Let me scoot up a little bit closer. This beautiful raglan shaping. And that raglan shaping comes over to below where the arms are, right where the sleeves meet up. It continues on that same patterning right there. It is absolutely gorgeous. The pattern, the textural pattern is so pretty. It is something that is potato chippy to me. The design itself, the patterning is very potato chippy. It is not difficult at all. It is not a difficult pattern repeat. It is very intuitive. And it is just that kind of thing where I find myself wanting to do one more row. And I forget how fast worsted weight works up because I'm always working with fingering weight yarn all the time. And so this is just flying. It is just flying. I absolutely adore it. So now that I finished that, I'm going to do the arms, and then I'm going to finish the body. This is also on a US 8 size needle. I use, I think this is a 5.0. Yep, 5.0. It's a 5mm US 8 needle, and I pretty much exclusively use ChiaoGoo red lace. I have an interchangeable set, and I have bought multiple needle sizes that I've added in. For some of the sizes that I use a lot of, I've got 3 or 4 sets of those needles. I try to buy them in varying lengths, 4-inch and 5-inch. I don't know which one this is, but I love the ChiaoGoos. I have tried so many other needles, and I just always come back to ChiaoGoo. So this is the Old Fashioned Cardigan by Maxim Cyr. My hope is to have this done by the end of July. I don't know if that's feasible. I have been plugging away at it. I would like to get this done so I can go back to the sea glass cardigan. Like, I love this knit so much. So this is the old fashioned cardigan. All right, y'all, I've got one more thing to talk about. And it is something that I have been wanting to do for so long now. All the way back, it's been over a year. It's been over a year that I've been on this journey. Last year, I went to DFW Fiber Fest. And while I was at DFW Fiber Fest, I came across some beautiful, amazing fiber that just absolutely sang to me. I'm gonna go grab it. Okay, I went to go grab it because if I'm gonna talk about what spurred me to this, I should probably show you what item it was that inspired me. So last year at DFW Fiber Fest, I passed by this booth from Butterfly Girl Designs, and she was selling this beautiful fiber to spin. I don't spin. And it is this beautiful teal and green and black with some speckly, shiny, sparkly stuff. You can see it kind of in the light there. Oh, it's just gorgeous. It is a 60% merino, 30% bamboo, and 10% nylon fire star, which I'm assuming is the little sparkly stuff that's in it. Let me show you the little card that came with it. And here's her information. So I fell absolutely in love with this fiber. Absolutely in love. But I don't spin. I don't know how. I don't have anything for it. So while I was there, and I couldn't pass this up, I decided I would go ahead and get a spindle while I was there, a drop spindle. I ended up at the Snyder booth, and at the Snyder booth, they had a bunch of drop spindles and Turkish spindles and some undyed fiber that is for practice. That was pretty cheap. So I ended up purchasing a Turkish drop spindle, and it was this beautiful turquoise, teal, and black part on the bottom, and this just undyed fiber. I don't even know what the fiber content is on this, honestly. Bought that to learn how to spin. And the gentleman showed me, as you can see, it's been started. The gentleman showed me, and I was like, oh, I got it. And then I went back to my friend's booth that was working there. I went back to Laura's booth, Stellar Needlecraft, and I tried, and I could not get it to work. So while I was working on that, and by the way, here's the whole braid of the fiber, the undyed practice fiber braid. So while I was working on that, across the way from Laura's booth, there was another vendor there that is a dyer that did fiber. It was the Apothecary. And the Apothecary had some gorgeous braids of fiber to spin as well. And so I kept seeing it, and I kept thinking, you know, I'm going to go through this fiber, and then I'm going to want some dyed fiber to work up. And, you know, while I'm here, I should probably get something that calls out to me other than the sparkly stuff that I think that's going to be like a goal. I don't think I'm there yet. So I bought something from her booth, this really pretty rusty maroon, orange, yellows, a little bit of black in there from the Apothecary booth. And this is Montana Corriedale It is 24 micron milled top from the Apothecary. And so I bought this, and then I kept trying to work the spindle and trying to work the spindle, and y'all, I suck at it. I have not been able to get the hang of it. I have watched videos. I had the Apothecary actually sat there while I recorded her. Literally, I recorded video of her teaching me how to do it, and I could not get it to work. I'm not used to having those problems. I'm not used to it. I am used to catching on to things pretty quickly. It is the GT student in me, honestly. If I don't get it right away, I get frustrated, and then it ends up being put on the back burner, and I don't do it. And so I bought that in September of last year, and it has stayed on the shelf since September of last year. Well, when DFW Fiber Fest for 2024 was announced, they had a class on there for Turkish drop spindling, and I have every intention of taking that class. I haven't signed up for it yet, but I have every intention of taking that class. I need to sign up for it. I need to remember to do that. But in the meantime, my friend Laura, Stellar Needlecraft, I showed you guys this last time. She got involved in dyeing some spinning fiber for her business as well. She does spin. She spins on an e-spinner. And so she's got these gorgeous colors that I love. So I bought some of her fiber. It's beautiful. I still don't know how to spin. So I was talking with Laura last week, and I was telling her about my frustrations and about how I really want to learn, because I now have 4 bundles of fiber to spin and don't know how to do it. So Laura said, look, the best way to learn is to go to a YouTube channel from Jillian Eve, and go to Evie's tutorials on Turkish drop spinning, and she has some amazing tutorials on how to do it. So I did, and Evie is an amazing teacher when it comes to spinning. I watched that video 4 times. I still cannot get it. I still can't get it. So I watched some of the other videos, and one of the videos that Jillian has on her channel is about top whirl drop spindles. And I was watching her in how she does the drop spindling, and all of the issues I have with the Turkish drop spindle are non-existent with the top whirl drop spindle. All of them. And it clicked watching it. I was like, oh my gosh, I can do that. She does a method called park and draft. And so part of my problem with the Turkish drop spindle is that I can't do the 5 different things at once. I can't spin it, and I can't draft it and hold it and do all of the things and keep going. Like, all of the things happening at the same time. I'm a great multitasker, y'all. I am a teacher. I'm a crafter that does multiple different crafts. I can multitask, and I cannot do that. So when she showed the drop spindle that you can spin it, and once you get that in, you can park it by just putting the spindle between your legs, and then you can draft and let it travel up. It all just was like, boom, click, that's it. I've got it. And then I kept going. I was like, okay, I need to order a drop spindle. I don't want to wait till DFW Fiber Fest to get one. I kind of want one soon. So I was poking around in her channel more, and she had one video about how to make your own drop spindle from the stuff that's at the craft store for under $5 each drop spindle. And you can actually make multiple for under $5. I was like, that's it, sign me up. So my husband and I went to Michael's, and they didn't have everything that I needed there. What she calls for is 1/4-inch dowel rods that are 12 inches long. You can buy a multi-pack, a 10-pack of those. I think a 10-pack was like $3. It calls for toy wooden wheels. So like if you were making like a racing car or something, it would be the little wheels that go with it, because the hole on the inside is about a 1/4-inch diameter. And then very tiny cup hooks, the smallest size cup hooks that you can find to go in the top. And so we went to Michael's first, did not find everything that I needed. And so we did find out that Joann's had it. They had all of the parts. So we went to Joann's, we got the dowel rods, we got the wooden toy wheels. It came with 2 in each set. And then went to Lowe's and picked up little cup hooks. These were the smallest ones we could find, the little 1/2-inch ones. And then I used a pencil sharpener and I used a coarse grit sandpaper. And I put all of it together and I immediately started working on spinning, and y'all, it works for me. It makes sense. This is what I've got so far. I've got a good amount, and it's actually pretty consistent for being a newbie. Like, it's pretty consistent. I'm enjoying it. I am working a little bit every day on it just to get the rhythm down. And so I think I'm going to work through spinning about half of that braid, if not the whole braid. I don't know. But I don't want to get into the others until I really have it down. And so my hope is I can spin enough of this that I can ply it and get kind of the DK or worsted weight yarn out of it. That's the ultimate goal. But it worked out really well. So you can see the 12-inch dowel, 1/4-inch dowel. I sharpened it, not to a full point, but it's a pretty blunt point at the bottom. This is the little wooden toy wheel. And then put that in there. I did have my husband take, I think he used a Dremel with a very, very, very thin drill bit, and he just kind of primed it for me. And then I screwed that in. I will say the wooden toy wheel and the dowel, putting it on there, they are exactly the same size, to the point where I could get it on there, but I couldn't slide it down into place. Like, this thing ain't going nowhere. There's no glue. It's not, it's on there. And the only way I was able to get that down there is with that coarse grit sandpaper. I probably spent about an hour sanding this down. So it is awesome. I am loving it. I have a new hobby. I would like to eventually get into maybe spinning wheel spinning. We'll see about that. I've been kind of looking at spinning wheels, and they're expensive. It is super expensive for a spinning wheel. It might actually be a better option for me to get an e-spinner, but we'll see. And I'm just gonna go from here and keep trying stuff out. I'm going to go to DFW Fiber Fest this year, like I said before, and I'm gonna avoid buying any more fiber while I'm there. We'll see if that actually happens, but I've got plenty here to spin myself. So that will hold me over for probably the next year as I continue to learn how to spin. All right, y'all, so that is it. That is all I have for today. All of my summer classes have been completed. I input my final grades in today. My last class got extended by a week because of Hurricane Beryl. We were one of the lucky ones in that we did not lose power at our house. We're one of the lucky 15% in the Houston area that didn't. So we were good through all of that. A lot of time to craft during that time. But because of that, my last class got extended a week. So I've already graded everything. I just got to input those grades later today. And next week we will be preparing to go out of town. We are going to Washington, D.C. It is not our first trip to D.C. We've been a couple of times, but every time we've gone to D.C., it has been a work trip for me. I have usually gone for part of a council group that goes and advocates for social study education. And I have met with many congressmen and senators and talked about the benefits of social studies and civics education, funding those things, and there have been some good talks. But when COVID hit, that all changed. So we've not been back to DC post-COVID. So we're going to DC. We already have a congressional tour lined up. We already have a lecture at the Supreme Court over kind of the history of the Supreme Court. And there will be kind of a micro tour where they're going to tell us where certain things are, and we're going to have the ability to go and see those things. From what I understand, it's not a full-fledged tour, but it's still a tour nonetheless. And then we also just got our approval to go visit the White House, which I'm super excited about. That is completely new for us. We, in the past, we had gotten our approval to go to DC too late to be able to set up a White House visit. And this time we knew in advance far enough that we could set all that up to go through the background checks and all of that. And so we just received yesterday our approval to go to the White House. So we're so super stoked about that. I think we're going to try and get in a Pentagon tour. We've not done that before. We also want to go to Ford's Theater. Not done that before. We have done a lot of the Smithsonian's, but my husband's done more than I have because while I was working, he was touring the museums. So we do want to do that. I've got a friend that I want to visit that lives in Virginia. So hopefully we get to meet up for lunch or dinner one of those days. And my husband has a soccer game. That's a whole reason we're going up there. His favorite team, the Wolverhampton Wanderers from England, are coming over and playing in the States. And they have 3 or 4 different games in different cities. And one of them is in Annapolis, Maryland, outside of Baltimore. And so it's so super close to DC. It just all fit together. So that is happening on July 31st. My husband is so excited to go. He wanted to know if I wanted to go with him. And I said, I have absolutely no desire to go to a soccer game. It's not my thing. It would be a waste of a ticket. I'm not going to get enjoyment out of that. So I would rather him go with our friend Josh and have an amazing time at this soccer game and not have, the third wheel who has nothing about that. Like, I don't want to go to it. I'm not going to find joy in it, and I'm going to be just a wet rag there. So might as well not go. I've got plenty of other stuff to do while I'm there, and I'll have knitting too. So even if I stay at the hotel, that's fine. I do plan on visiting a yarn store while I'm in DC. So if you have any recommendations, if you know the DC area and you've got a recommendation on a yarn store that I should go to, drop it down in the comments for me because I am looking for recommendations. It's got to be accessible by public transit. We will not have a rental car. We are going to fly into BWI and we're going to take the Amtrak to Union Station, and then we're going to be using the Metro to get around and the bus service through Metro to get around. So that is how we plan on doing all of this. We've already pre-purchased our Amtrak tickets to go back to the airport. We're not going to pre-purchase the ones going in from BWI to DC specifically, because if our plane is late, we don't want to miss those times on the Amtrak. We don't want to have to worry about refunding and all of that. So we know we can control the one leaving. So we already pre-purchased those. We have already pre-purchased our Metro tickets and have it all set up on our Apple Wallet so that we can use our phone for that. That's done. We already have our hotel. It is booked. It is ready to go. We're going to stay in the Silver Springs area, and our plane tickets are purchased. So now all that's left is for us to figure out where we're eating and the other places that we're going. And so I'm excited. I'm so excited. It's been a while since we've been on a vacation because we've had a couple of years of just a lot of medical issues. I had 3 surgeries within 13 months. So the last 2 summers I've been healing from surgery. So we haven't gone anywhere. So I'm really excited to go on a vacation. Other than that, school starts the week after we get back from vacation. So it'll be a good cap to my summer. And then I will be back in the classroom getting ready for the 24-25 school year. It's kind of crazy that I'm already talking about that. So anyway, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below for me. I do have notes for each episode that I put down in the description box down below, including links to anything that I talk about. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have a great rest of your July, and I will see you next time. Bye.